all I get to say is hi and leave, right? Okay. Thank you, Rob. By the way, you noticed that the handout they gave you in the booklet is printed black ink on yellow. That's a whole psychological course I teach called Black on Yellow. It has been used for over 45 years to train the people. I trained in the military to be nuclear weapons, biological and chemical weapon engineers, because you don't make a mistake if you print black on yellow. 3M sells 5 billion of those little sticky notes. 4.9 billion of them are yellow. If you put black ink on yellow, you will not forget it. Just remember that. I'll teach the whole course to you if you are interested. So who's the most interesting person in this room to a senior? He or she isn't the wittiest person in the room. We've had a lot of witty people. The most attractive, Carol is beautiful, right? Okay. Or the one whose reputation precedes them. To a senior, the most interesting person in this room is the man or woman who very easily commands a wide range of knowledge. That's going to be thematically, I'm going to talk to you about knowledge today. It's the man or a woman who confidently moves the conversation forward with insight. Or it's the person who illuminates the truth. Or it's the who knows what events shape a senior's world. That's the most important person in this room. And chances are that person is now you. Because today is the first day of that certification that you're going to be going through to provide for seniors. And soon you'll be taught how to be a professor, which is what I do. I'm a professor that teaches professors. I have some graduates in the room here, and they will tell you their life got changed on those 2 8-hour Saturdays. Because they heard things that they did not know that you were supposed to do as one who professes. And everybody in this room professes their knowledge. But how do you do that? Why do you do that? So this is what KCA is all about. So thank you, Rob and Robin and Dr. Wayne Ivey, first person we ever granted a doctorate degree from TCCA. And I teach a lot of his deputies. And man, does he have a smart police force. You don't believe it. Come sit through some of my graduate classes with them. These kids, I call them kids because I'm so dang old that they're all kids to me, but I've never been arrested, so it's really good. So, anyway. But Janet and Carol and Scott and Carrie, listen, look, here's the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal, all they care about is business and taking your money, and now they got a column when to step in with an older parent. And now they're starting to write columns about, this guy writes, my mother's 80, I'm trying to take over her finances, what are my responsibilities, now the Wall Street Journal is now involved in this gigantic group called the Boomers, which I happen to be one of. But now they're worried about it, and now they're thinking about it, and we need to be thinking about it too. So what's knowledge? Knowledge, that's familiarity, that's awareness, it's understanding. By the way, take your notes right on that yellow piece of paper, because when you write on that yellow thing, it's going to start burning into your brain. Because black on yellow tells the brain, caution, remember this. Remember this. You know, you guys come off I-95, you take that Merritt Island curve off at 87 miles an hour, and that yellow sign says 25, and you take your foot off that accelerator immediately when you come around that curve going to the port, because your brain has already been conditioned. The black words on a yellow sign, and you know it. You take that foot off. But unfortunately, going down Wickham is something different. When you see the yellow light, you immediately stop the accelerator because you're going to make that light. Not a one of you will take your foot off the accelerator. Oh, yellow, I need to come to a stop. Yeah, that's why I don't come down here. I don't like Wickham. Wickham doesn't like me. Okay. Knowledge is familiarity, awareness, or understanding of someone or something, such as a fact, information, description, that is acquired through experience or education by your perceiving or discovering and learning. Now think about that, how complicated that is. We all think we know things, but how did you get to know that? One thing a college professor told me back in the 1850s when I was going to school was, hey, the one thing you don't know is what you don't know. And the one thing you can't write down on a piece of paper is everything you don't know. But that's not true anymore. Now we just go to Google and click on I'm feeling lucky, and it'll print all 7 billion websites for you. You'll now have a book that'll contain everything you did not know. Wow, that is an awesome thing that we have changed the whole concept of knowledge. Knowledge, though, acquisition is perception, communication, and reasoning. But more important, knowledge is the capacity of acknowledgement of human beings, in human beings. You got to acknowledge that you know, or you always have to acknowledge what you don't know. And that is very difficult to do. Today, because our institutions of primary and secondary and higher education are devoted to everything, all schools are devoted to everything except reading, writing, arithmetic, and reasoning. We're teaching everything but the 4 basic R's. And believe you me, as an engineer, I've been dealing now with the SpaceX young engineers. These are Georgia Tech graduates. These are kids are 25, 26 years old. They're great. And I say, let me look at your technical data. They say, oh, you don't have it. It's on my iPad. Holy cow. You mean you don't have the big spreadsheet? No, it's all on our iPad. My heart just stops, you know. Because I was the guy at Vandenberg who built the space shuttle and built all the fuels. And now we're going through the identical same fuel problems that SpaceX is having. I'm going, you didn't read my book from the 80s? Oh, you were born in you were alive in the 80s? You know, okay, yeah. Okay, kid. These kids weren't even conceived until the year 2000, so it doesn't matter. But look, for any person, there are things that they know, there are things that you don't know, and what is the difference? So what does it take to know something? It's not enough just to believe it. We don't know the things that we're wrong about. Knowledge seems to be more like getting at the truth. And how do we find truth today in this country? We Google it. That's exactly how you find truth. You Google it. Thing is, who writes the truth on Google? There's the problem. The analysis of knowledge concerns the attempt to articulate in what exactly this getting at the truth really means. Look, we're in a free competitive market. I was in the State Department. I've been an intelligence officer, I've been in 91 countries. Every time I get off that airplane at the Orlando airport, I hit the ground as fast as I can, and I start kissing the ground. I am so thrilled to be in the United States of America. Believe you me, competitiveness is never anywhere in the world. It's here. The rest of these countries, sad but true, they're done. Most of them are done. So we got to think this out. Now, my master's thesis was written on Ambrose Bierce. If you don't know who that is, he's an American author, but he wrote a dictionary called The Devil's Dictionary, in which he defined the world of the United States of America by using his own definitions. So here's how he defines a corporation, a business. It is an ingenious device for obtaining individual profit without any individual responsibility. He wrote that in 1863, by the way, in the middle of the Civil War, when everybody was selling weapons to everybody. But boy, does that retain true today. One way to overcome the lack of knowing is to generate knowledge through this thing, what I call the entrepreneurial process of discovery. And this is what you're about to see and understand at tomorrow's expo, because you're going to meet entrepreneurs and leaders who portray the following types of skills which are necessary to work successful with seniors. And here they are. Conscientiousness. What does it mean to be conscientious? We know what that means, but what is conscientiousness? People commit themselves to plans. They make sure they're going to follow out to the letter. They're good at overcoming their impulses, and they think about wisdom in their decision. You know what? Your IQ, after your IQ, consciousness is considered the best predicator of an outcome of like an educational success. At work, if you have high consciousness, it's essential for good strategic planning. But if you're overly conscious, it means you're very rigid and very inflexible. So wow, you got to really balance this out. Rose knows, she's nodding her head, man. She understands that. Boy, talking to her, you can get yourself a real knowledge of senior citizens. Now, what we want to see is businesses that are highly conscious of how seniors act and react and thrive and survive and communicate, and importantly, how seniors in this county and in this nation adjust themselves. My mother-in-law, I love her to death. She's 86 years old. The worst mistake I ever did was teach her how to use an iPhone and an iPad. Oh my God. Those 3 o'clock a.m. text messages, oh. But I do know how to block QVC and all those things, so she don't order weird stuff. But man, she loves Amazon Prime, and she loves that iPad. She never goes anywhere without that iPad. Huge mistake to teach a senior citizen how to, that's fine. Adjustment. Everybody faces anxieties. I faced anxieties at 7:30 this morning driving down here on Wickham. That is, it is high anxiety from North Merritt on, where we live in total seclusion. Our Confederate flags are still flying up there. We didn't know that the Union had won or lost. We are lost up there completely in North Merritt Island, But people with high adjustment capabilities can cope with them real easily, but more easily under pressure without allowing it to be negatively influence your behavior. So there's a lot of studies out there that show that stressful situations can help you grow rather than be a threat to your well-being. The problem is we're going to have to adjust our mindsets that seniors are a marketplace unlike any other generation America has ever had. 77 million baby boomers, 10,000 a day retire and go on Social Security. And the workforce is now adjusting this demographic. And as an economic intelligence officer for the State Department, we look at demographics. And we worry about countries like Nicaragua, where 65% of the population is 14 years old or younger. You think about that in 8 years when they have a standing army of 4 million young teenagers, and there's no war to go to. So will they create a war? Will they go to war with Costa Rica and El Salvador and Guatemala? I mean, my gosh, we got to think about all that stuff. And what about these 77 million baby boomers when they go to the poll in November? Who's marketing to them? Who's talking to them? That's a huge voting block. And by the way, they vote. Young people don't vote. I can't convince any of my graduate students to even join a jury or go talk to Laurie Scott about working in a polling booth. Boy, you talk about an eye-opening experience. They always send me to Cape Canaveral because I can overcome, working in DEA, I know how to overcome the smell of marijuana coming through that front door. But whoa! Ambiguity acceptance. Are you the kind of person who prefers tasks to be well-defined and predictable, or do you really like the unknown? See, people with a real high tolerance for ambiguity can incorporate a lot of viewpoints before coming to a decision. So they're less dogmatic, and they're more nuanced in their opinions. And guess what? They can deal with a senior a whole lot easier than those of us who are fixing our rigid paths. So if you have a real low ambiguity tolerance, that's sort of like your life is dictated to you in a pattern. People can distill complicated matters into one easy selling point. And by the way, that's a typical trait of destructive leadership. Everything gets simplified down to one point. Be very cautious about doing that. All seniors are idiots. All old people are stupid. All young people are stupid. Listen, I deal with a lot of young people. And man, some of them are so smart. But then I deal with some that don't know the multiplication table and they're 30 years old. And they're trying to deal with complicated, issues. I always tell people there are 3 tattoos you're authorized. You can have the dolphins if you want to, but here on this arm you put PEMDAS, the order of operations of mathematical probabilities. On this arm you put MADSPIN, that's the exponent rule. Up here on your shoulder you put SVO, subject, verb, object. That's the way the English language is written. Then you can have your dancing dolphins and all you want, okay? I used to have SOHCAHTOA on my body, but trigonometry and I still hate each other, so I had that thing burned off my body. Boy, that was painful, but not as painful as taking trigonometry. Look, seniors are not able to be distilled as a simple commodity. You have really got to have the knowledge that we can give you, anybody can give you about this complicated group of people called seniors. You think about it. I was born after World War II. My parents were missionaries in Japan, and I grew up in a bombed-out, completely destroyed country. I got to watch Tokyo being built from the ground up until 1964, the Olympics came, and the emperor shows up at the Olympics. It's the first time anybody in Japan had ever seen the emperor of Japan. And everybody was stunned at the stadium. I'm taking pictures. And I'm going, you can't take pictures of the emperor. You'll go to hell. I said, no, you don't understand. He's just a person. They didn't understand it. But it was fantastic to sneak into Olympic Village at 2 o'clock in the morning and climb to the top of the torch and hoist that flag of Texas up there. Let me tell you, that really shook the Japanese up because they thought it was a Chilean flag, so they arrested everybody from Chile. It was fun. Crucially, this ambiguity business, we got this climate of technology. You're going to have to cope with technology. You're going to have to identify businesses that listen to lots of opinions. You're going to have to take complex arguments and make sense out of them in a proactive way. You can't simplify things because you think the senior needs to have it simplified for them. We found that seniors appreciate this approach of you talking to them as a human being, as a normal person in a business-like tone, and then help them understand the decision-making process that you're going through. What's this thing about curiosity? Curiosity killed the cat? Yeah, I heard all that. But look, compared to all the mental traits that you go through, curiosity has been neglected by psychologists. Open any psychology textbook, think about the psychology courses you took, and curiosity is not in the psychology books. Why? Recent research shows that new ideas bring many advantages to the workplace, but you've got to be curious about how that idea came there. You've got to learn, helps you learn more easily, increases your job satisfaction, protects you from burnout. And I'll tell you, with the ability of Google now with Ngram, if you don't know what that is, come see me, N, capital G-R-A-M. It's a Google program, and it will reveal to you everything you want to know about any subject and when that subject came to be. You Google your name and find out in 1610 your name first appeared in print. You know what they did? They scanned the entire Library of Congress. We now have access to every book ever printed, every newspaper ever printed, every pamphlet and paperback ever printed is now on Ngram. And now they're photographing every work of art, every sculpture in the world, and putting it into Google, into Ngram, so you'll have access to every piece of art ever created. Wow, aren't you curious about what you don't know? We now have the ability to know what we don't know. It's awesome. So look, whether a business is working for a senior or any other demographic group, being curious is never a bad idea. And risk, also known as courage, yeah, that's an interesting juxtaposition, isn't it? Risk approach and courage. Would you shy away from a potentially unpleasant confrontation? Would you? Or do you just steam ahead in the knowledge that a short-term discomfort will resolve the situation and bring long-term benefits? Unsurprisingly, the capacity to deal with difficult situations is critical for management positions where you need to take action for the greater good, and it is the hardest of all the management skills. Even Drucker told us this back in the 60s and the 70s. Peter Drucker, the great management guru, he told us that that is tough, to have courage to walk into a situation that you know is going to unfold on you, but to tough it through, walk it through, decide it through, and take action, even when you're faced with opposition. And believe me, dealing with seniors is going to put you in that situation right there. Oh, all of you are very competitive, except for Kerry. He's already got it figured out. That media guy, he's got it worked out, right? He has no competition to deal with, right? Look, there's a fine line between personal success and caving into the unhealthy jealousness of another person. Competitiveness can be powerful. Motivation makes you go the extra mile. And at worst, though, it'll cause your teams inside your own business to break down completely because you got them competing against each other instead of working with the business to compete with others. You got to be very cautiously cool about that. Together, these 6 traits, these are the basic building blocks, what I call the entrepreneurial process of discovery. And I don't care whether you're a nonprofit, for-profit, real estate, no matter what you're in, this is what you've got to understand. Look, people in many organizations, they don't want to participate in overcoming the knowledge problem that we have in our country because it's in their best interest to let these problems persist. And it's easy to prey, P-R-E-Y, prey on seniors. Very easy to do that. Don't tell them what they need to know. Just lead them down the path. Exploit them. Look, what Knowledge College is trying to do, has done, is doing, and is going to continue to do, is that we're going to teach, we're going to cajole people, we're going to educate people, we're going to beg people. And Rob and I are going to get on our knees every day, and we're going to pray, and I mean P-R-A-Y, for everyone in this county, and everyone in this state, and everyone in this nation. And if that's not you, then why are you here? By the way, what would Brevard be like if that's the way we ran businesses and services and the way the government operated? What would our state be like if that's the way businesses and services and government operated? Hey, what would our nation be like? We already are the most powerful nation on the face of the earth, and we're going to continue to be, because you know what? We got smart people that actually have figured this out. Practically every individual who operates a business has some advantage over other people because they possess unique information, and its beneficial use might be made, but of which can be made only if the decisions depending upon it are left to him or made to a cooperation. And a lot of people say, look, I've got something you don't know. Let me tell you, as a federal officer, my biggest problem in the whole federal government was the United States Army. Because the Army officers I know something you don't know, and I'm not sharing it with you. Because I'm all powerful. Of course, Air Force guys share everything, because we just take over the Holiday Inn and make sure there's cable TV there. The Marines have a tendency to blow the building up, and the Navy says, I got my ship to go to, so I don't need to talk to any of you. I mean, wow, you try dealing as a joint staff officer with not only them, but you got to deal with the State Department and Commerce and all the federal governments, and 17 intelligence agencies. Wow. I just wonder what that would be like if we could get everybody on the same sheet of music. So we, the men and women who provide businesses to seniors, got to remember something. These are important ideas. How much we have to learn. How much we got to learn in any occupation. Even after you've completed all your training, your theoretical training, your business training, how much more do you have to learn? I go to school every day. I love being a teacher because I feed off my kids. They ask me questions that no one's ever asked me before. Last night's class was a webinar. I have students all over the world, and we all come together at 7 p.m. on a webinar, and I teach, and they just show up on my computer, and they're asking incredible questions, and we're dealing with contract analysis and PPPs, private-public partnerships, very complicated ideas. How big a part of our working life do we spend learning a particular job? And how valuable an asset in all walks of life is knowledge of people? Do you really have a good knowledge of people and the local conditions and the circumstances that I love that slide about how much money comes into here. You know, on military bases, we like to remind the community that the 15th and the 30th of every month when the military gets paid, the communities love that. At Fort Benning, we had so much trouble with the community and with discrimination, harassing our combat black soldiers, that we decided that we would just open the base 24 hours a day and make the town off limits. It only took Columbia. It only took them about, I think, 5 days before they came to the base commander begging that they would be a whole lot nicer to our troops, because they couldn't stand the economic disaster that we just visited upon them. Boy, what would happen if the seniors decided to boycott your business, boycott your services, boycott your legal firm, boycott your real estate office? And believe you me, they all talk to each other. Those assisted living facilities are hot dens of rebellion. Well, before I get to that, I said, no matter what you do, there's always more to learn. That's my bottom line. Whatever you've heard or been touched by today and in the future, it's going to be critical for seniors. You know, Knowledge College is open. Continue to open the doors. We want to make content relevant. We want to make research relevant. We want to make these seminars relevant. We want to make expos relevant. Please tap into Rob. Look, I was 6'4", I had a lot of hair, and I was this great, handsome-looking guy. And then I met Rob, and let me tell you, he has used me to the point where, but at least I lost a lot of weight. I'm down to 169 pounds now, He's killing me. No. This is very important because this is what you're all about. The role of providers to seniors by changing them from isolated to connected. Think about this senior here. It connects the passive to active, unaware to informed. Isn't that what we're trying to do? By the way, that's what you're trying to do in your own life, isn't it? I hope so. Otherwise, what are you in business for? Look, everything from this point forward is experience-driven. As a result, businesses and seniors have got to be aligned and focused so that every experience that you have with them and they have with you is satisfying. Think about that. Isn't that what we want in our lives? But here's something you need to hear repeatedly. Everything I just said about the who, the what, the when, the where, the why. In our organization, this organization is Christ-centered. We believe that God has led us to this mission, and we not only intend to be His servants, we will be His servants, and we will serve those in this community. That is probably more difficult to do than anything else, because you have to reveal yourself. Wow! Those people at First Baptist Church Maradona, when I go, they reveal themselves. Christmas and Easter. Okay, wonderful. So I say this to you in closing. Seniors have been there and done that. Businesses that accept them, understand them, and work with them are those who are going to reap the benefits. So is that you? Is that your business? I know it is. And now, guess what? You know it. Thank you.